So this, I'll just go over this pretty quickly. This is, I would say, overall much smaller scale work than a lot of the other work that's been done at Argonne that you've seen today, but I'd say equally important given the mission of the laboratory. So it comes as no surprise we all work at the Department of Energy or various subsidiaries thereof. So energy research is a major mission at Argonne National Lab and other laboratories. The sort of initiatives that you see in divisions like Material Science Division, Center for Nanoscale Materials, or Chemical Science and Engineering, there'll be applications such as battery, photovoltaics, biofuels, and catalysis. And I'd say even outside of DOE, if you look at the sort of codes that are run at NSF centers and worldwide, it's not necessarily the largest science that's being pursued in these endeavors, but it's a large number of jobs. The tools that are used for chem visualization are actually fairly different from the ones that are used for general purpose viz. So ParaView and Visit and sort of the VTK infrastructure are very widely used for problems in large-scale fluid dynamics or astrophysics, sort of problems that can't be tackled in any other framework. In chemistry and materials, there tends to be a lot of use of tools that were developed starting in the late 70s for molecular graphics. And I'd say probably the most popular of these are VMD, PyMol, Chimera. Then there are some newer, smaller tools like Avogadro and Vesta that are more specific and support sort of molecular building functionality. And things that I've worked on tend to involve, I guess, mid-sized to larger scale materials, which are not incredibly big by supercomputing standards, but are very challenging for the molecular software that are available to most computational chemists. So we start to see problems that are in the maybe tens of thousands to mid-millions, low billions of atoms that are all of a sudden challenging for one machine to handle adequately, and where you have different sorts of analyses, so volumetric analyses that aren't trivially done by ParaView and Visit and the VTK infrastructure, and all of a sudden can be handled fairly efficiently by volumetric packages and our own homegrown analysis. So I have some examples of this here. On the left, we have an ensemble run of nanobol catalyst supports done by Maria Chan at CNM. In the center, we have a nanosphere material that is sort of a battery anode material coming from recycled plastic bags, and they're running computations to sort of optimize these structures and find out which of these would make the best anode material. And on the right, we have a carbon monoxide platinum cluster. This is really a catalysis study where the scientist will actually manually move the CO atoms closer to the platinum cluster and look at the wave function, look at the charge density, and see what the impact on the bond structure is going to be and how likely it is that the carbon monoxide atom will poison the catalyst. So these are the sorts of problems that, at least until recently, there haven't been really large, I guess, good support in the existing visualization tool set that we've tried to help the scientists at Argonne with. We also have played around a lot with immersive environments and large-scale streaming imagery. So the top picture is the Cave 2 stereoscopic immersive environment at EVL at UIC. And this is the work of Carrie Rada, who ported the materials renderer that I had to the cave. And this allowed us to jump into some very large 5 to 15 million atom data sets from Kenichi Nomura and Priya Vishishta at USC. So this was a very nice system. Similarly, we played around with live visualization on the supercomputer. So this is some work that I did at Stampede at TAC, where we were able to stream from their supercomputer to a tile display. And what was interesting is that we were able to compute images like this interactively, but the network switch essentially reduced it to fairly low frame rates of 1 to 2 frames per second. They're also, we've done a little bit of work in rendering techniques that sort of made volume rendering maybe not so interesting to materials scientists in the past. So for example, in the image on the upper left, this is what you get from just visualizing one field, charge density, or doing sort of a blobby reconstruction of what a molecule would look like. And there's not really very much information you can get out of that, even though it's easier to see shape maybe than the ball and stick modality. And on the right, with a new rendering technique that we came up with, we're able to actually color code the atoms, color code separate fields, determine, really distinguish between molecules and between individual atoms. So this is, I think, something that could make volume rendering modalities more interesting to computational chemists, at least than they were before. Another advantage of this technique is that when you compare this to sort of a standard structured volume rendering, so the type that you do in almost every volume rendering package or in ParaView or Visit, or really anything that's currently available, for that you'd have to pre-process it to a fairly large structured volume, probably in the order of low gigabytes for a data set such as this. This also takes a few minutes to do, and you contrast this to a more direct approach where you just render it directly. So I think these sort of direct rendering techniques play an important role, or will play an increasingly important role in visualization systems in the future. Lastly, I'll talk a little bit about some analysis projects we're working on. So one paper that I actually worked on, it's not with this data set on the left, but with a much simpler data, a multi-field DFT simulation in nuclear physics. We were interested in finding out if we could do some sort of topological analysis to tell us where you stop having one atom in the process of nuclear fission and when you start having two. So when the proton and neutron fields actually tell you that you have a scission point, an event that actually tells you have two nuclei. And we were able to, in this paper, successfully determine that. So the results that this topological structure, this tree in the upper right, told us about, they coincided exactly with the energy plots and the time and parameters that coincided with a large drop in energy. So this was very interesting, and we've been pursuing analyses such as this for chemistry DFT in the hope that they might tell us where there is and isn't a bond. The idea being that for larger data, you might not have a direct way of determining that from total energy. In the bottom, we have the work of Attila Jalassi at the Ski Institute at University of Utah, being applied to this nanosphere battery material. And the idea is that by doing analyses such as these, we can determine where ion diffusion paths will be and the charge that a battery material such as this can suck up from ions that are going into it. So the idea is that we can run this perhaps in situ or in batch even, and help optimize better battery materials. And that's all I have.